Tonight's untold story is from General David Petraeus, the four-star general who served in the Army for 37 years, later became the director of the CIA, nearly saw his career ended very early on with a near-death experience that was averted by someone that viewers of this show know quite well.
September 1991. I just escaped the Pentagon after 2 years as the aide to the Chief of Staff of the Army. I was a newly installed battalion commander about a month into the job. It was a Saturday morning. We were in a series of what we called walk to daylight exercises, after which you would conduct.
This is in Kentucky.
This is in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Yep. And so we're out on one of the live fire ranges. General Jack Keane, who is then a one-star general, the assistant division commander, he really liked our unit, liked these live fire exercises. And so he and I were walking behind this squad, and one of our soldiers, a fine soldier, Special Smith, knocked out a bunker with a grenade, went in, sprayed it, came out, and on the top step he tripped. And we think that as he came down and he hit very hard, he was actually stunned for a moment, that his finger was inside the trigger housing, and he squeezed, as you tense up when you're about to hit the ground, and squeezed off a round, and that round, an M16 round, went right through here, thankfully over the A in Petraeus rather than the A in Army. I thought I'd been hit from behind. I didn't see the soldier. Jack Keane had seen the soldier, so he knew what happened. But the blow is actually as it blows out of your back more than it is the actual hit in the front.
What do you remember about what that felt like?
Well, it felt like the most enormous hammer on a huge swing hitting you from the back, because it explodes out of your back, and the hole in the back was much bigger than the very tiny hole right here. I was very fortunate that it only nicked an artery. It did not sever an artery, in which case I literally would have bled out. Then you get into shock, and I was telling the guys, don't worry about me, guys. We need to just do a quick after-action review, prop me up against a tree, give me some water to drink, because you all of a sudden have this raging thirst. And of course, they're all rolling their eyes because they realize I'd been shot. And I'm not sure I'd fully processed all of this at that moment in time. I did remember saying, don't cut my gear. You know, it took me a lot of time to tie everything down here, and I don't want to have to redo that. And of course, they're thinking about how do we make sure this guy doesn't die. And I remember General Keane actually, by the way, he stayed with me the entire way through this. This ended up being a many hours process. Holding his hand, actually, we flew into the post-hospital to the emergency room, and that's where they really, in a sense, saved my life, because what they did there was they took a scalpel, cut an X. He actually said, this is going to really hurt, and it really did. It was the one time in the whole endeavor that, you know, I truly sort of started to just say, maybe this isn't worth hanging on to, because it hurt so much. And
you're thinking about your life, about your family, about potentially dying in that moment.
Yeah, all of the above. But you're also trying to hang on to life. And, you know, I had a reasonable amount of determination over the years, and wasn't about to give this up quite so easily. And now we're starting to think, gosh, what about the unit? This is a fairly traumatic experience. Our new battalion commander, you know, has been shot, almost killed. And so I asked the chaplain, in fact, to bring the soldier down to Nashville to the Vanderbilt Medical Center so I could sit with him. He was a fine soldier, and things happen. And so, you know, in the end of the day, it was really no harm. I was a fairly impatient patient. So they moved me from there back to the post hospital at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was driving them crazy there. I said, you know, I think I'm ready to check out of here. I think this is about the 5 or 6 day mark. And I said, why don't I just show you? I'll do 50 push-ups for you if you want, and then you can see whether that's enough.
See if I'm okay. After having been through that experience, when you were in Iraq, when you saw other people injured, perhaps in similar ways, did it give you a different understanding or compassion for what they were going through?
Well, I certainly knew what it felt like to go through this kind of very serious injury. Again, a sucking chest wound is something certainly that can kill you, not always. It certainly gave a sense of an understanding of this enormous gnawing uncertainty that almost all of our soldiers exhibited. Because the truth is that what they wanted to do was just get back to their unit. And the truth is, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But it was amazing that, you know, I would go and see a soldier who's in the field hospital who might have lost a leg or something, and he'd plead with me, just, sir, just don't worry about it. Just let me get back to the unit. You know, there's something called the brotherhood of the close fight, and those that are really in the true firefight on the ground with each other, they are thinking about each other. And they have each other's backs, and this is all about their ranger buddy or air assault buddy or whatever. And there is a fierce loyalty among them, and a fierce desire not to let one's buddy down. And that does extend beyond that, but it certainly was always visible when someone was hit and they didn't want to be medevaced to the States or to Germany or what have you. They just wanted to be treated there and get back to their unit.
You have that kind of brotherhood based on that experience with General Jack Keane?
Very much so. We knew each other before, but this was a very serious male bonding situation. It was also a great example of what a great leader does, looking after those for whom he's responsible. And again, that was his Saturday. You know, he wasn't on the golf course or somewhere else. He was out there with us walking this very intensive live fire exercise, and he did that many, many more times with us. He reveled in that kind of activity because he and I and the others knew that this is how you prepare individual soldiers for combat.
Well, he has enormous respect for you, which he has shared with us many, many times. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us today.
Well, I have the same for him, I can assure you.
Thank you, General.